So I'm just going to start, good afternoon in Helsinki, good morning in Montreal, in Quebec, here in Canada, where I'm presenting right now. And as Carol was saying, at the beginning, it seems like we have people from all around the world presenting in this symposium. So this is pretty cool. First of all, I really want to thank Pedro and Carol for inviting me to present in this symposium. It was great to touch base with them again, as Carol said, after 2018. But it was, I was really happy to see kind of this idea of this webinar series to bring to this virtual world different perspectives and different approaches to wildlife trade. So I was really excited, and obviously said yes from the first moment, because I think it's a great idea to use this opportunity to meet, even though virtually, to talk about some neglected species. As Carol mentioned, my name is Georgina Farrell, and I'm the Outreach and Partnerships Officer at the Commission for Environmental Cooperation. The CEC, as the Commission is well known, was established in 1994 as part of the Environmental Cooperation Agreement for North America. And as of 2020, the CEC is recognized and maintained by the Environmental Cooperation Agreement, which is parallel to the new Free Trade Agreement of North America, which I'm pretty sure most of you have heard before. The CEC has a pretty unique role, as I will explain during my presentation. It has been an instrument, and a very effective instrument, to facilitate cooperation among Canada, the United States, and Mexico. It has worked for the creation of networks. We have worked with a broad range of stakeholders from different sectors to develop and implement our work. And an important aspect of the CEC is that we develop, implement, use, and disseminate a lot of tools to support communities and government. In a nutshell, what I can say about the mission of the CEC is that the mission is to facilitate cooperation and community participation. Our focus is to conserve, to protect, and to enhance the North American environment. We work together, 3 countries, working on the environment that we have between us. An important aspect of our mission is also to support the sustainable development, always thinking about the future generations, the ones that come after us, and definitely the ones that we right now are struggling with our environment. The CEC has a very broad agenda, and I wouldn't have time in 12, 15 minutes to present all the work that we do. What I just want to mention and to put out there is that the CEC, it's more than one project. It's, we have right now 10 different projects. We have different initiatives. We have different aspects of how we engage with the North American environment. Just to give you an example, and I invite you to go to our website if you want to learn more about what we do. But we have currently efforts on marine litter, on the reduction of food loss and waste. We are working with pollinator conservation, with the warning systems of drought, costing floods, and other extreme events. So you can see we work on green growth, extreme events, ecosystems, biodiversity, and certainly our agenda is getting a little bit broader in the next years. All of what we have in our website, it's in English, French, and Spanish, the 3 languages under which we work as part of our work. So I invite you just to go and click, and if you're not able to find something, please let us know, and we'll try to find it for you. Today, that's kind of a really broad overview of the CEC, but today I want to talk a little bit more about the work we did from 2015 to 2019. That it's not only we did the CEC Secretariat, but we did it together with government, with different stakeholders from Canada, Mexico, and the United States to implement trinationally agreed high priority actions, as Carol said, to promote the sustainable and traceable trade of 4 species groups listed in CITES Appendix 2. It's important that I mention here that the work that we do at the CEC, it's not just one person, it's 3 governments together with the stakeholders, with our partners, with our collaborators. we will not be able to do the work we do, to disseminate it, and to have the impact that we have without the work of all our collaborators. And I really want to mention that. Carol mentioned, I met Carl, Pedro, and Sergio back in 2018 in Guadalajara. I think, both Pedro and myself were really sick at the moment. So it was an interesting workshop that we had as we were struggling with the colds or flus or whatever we had at that time. In a nutshell, summarizing these 4 years that we work on CITES Appendix 2 species, I'm going to walk you through the work that we did at the CEC. Once our projects start, they are agreed upon 3 governments, then we go into the implementation phase. At the beginning, it was a long process of multi-stakeholder workshops where the 3 governments with stakeholders agreed to have some action plans for each one of the 4 species group that I mentioned before. Once we had those action plans, then it was the idea and the goal to implement some of those actions that were agreed among the 3 countries. We had the pleasure during this work to work with researchers, with subject matter experts, with readers, with law enforcement officers, with NGOs, with local communities, and many other stakeholders while we implement different actions as part of these priority action plans that we put together. We obviously printed some of those action plans, but I invite you to go to our specialized CEC CITES trinational website, where you can see the action plans. You can see those actions that were agreed among 3 countries, and you can see those actions that were implemented as part of one of our projects and some of the outcomes that we put together with our collaborators. As I mentioned, everything that's available on our website is in 3 languages. So that allows us, the CEC, to give have a broader impact on different stakeholders that have different languages. In the next couple of slides, I won't focus too much on the work we did on these specific species. I'm certainly not an expert on CITES Appendix 2 species, but rather, as Carol said, when I met her, I was a project lead working for the implementation of these projects. But rather, and I think that's the vision that Carol and Pedro had when they invited me to this symposium, is to talk about the how. How do we do things at the CEC? How do we foster collaboration and facilitate cooperation? But now that, I follow last week's webinar, I'm here today in this webinar. I think Carol and Pedro are doing an amazing job. They're doing exactly what is needed to foster collaboration. And I'm sure that this webinar series is going to have a great impact on those neglected species. And hopefully, a couple of years from now, we'll be having another second round of this webinar series, talking about all the amazing results that you have achieved as we're starting today to talk about these groups. What I can say about the work of the CEC, and definitely throughout the work that we did with the CEC CITES projects, as we call them, is we strengthen and improve regional collaboration through multi-stakeholder workshops, learning from others, listening to other opinions. And certainly one of the aspects that we have at the CEC is that we provide a neutral forum that promotes dialogue. It's impressive that, I was putting together this presentation with all these pictures of rooms full of people, and I was imagining that, it has been almost a year that, at least on this side of the world, we haven't been able to meet. But at the same time, we're having this symposium, and it's impressive that, it hasn't been a barrier of not being able to be in the same room. We're still, like today, discussing different ideas from different perspectives, and that's what really promotes collaboration. Another aspect, and I'm putting here as example some of the publications that were outcome of the work we did on CITES Appendix 2 species with our collaborators, is the importance of information sharing and communication. Providing highlights, results, discussion points allows others to hear about the work that everybody does. That's important for us at the CEC to communicate to all our North American stakeholders and now beyond with these kind of online meetings of what we do. And to keep, being in that chain of dissemination and to put this information available for more and more people. It was a pleasure to work with Carl, Sergio, and Pedro on putting together a lot of these documents to support the sustainable trade of tarantulas for North America. We had the opportunity to go to a breeding facility to learn, to see the tarantulas, the spiderlings. So it was really important and impressive to have in one room a lot of the elements, a lot of the people that are part of the trade chain of these species. They are, I think, not as neglected as other species that we had the opportunity to learn in the previous webinar. And I guess there's going to be many more species that we're going to be learning of. I do want to mention here, last week, there was a presentation on sea cucumbers, and I'm a biologist by training. I study biology. I remember studying those species, but certainly that presentation opened my eyes to that marvelous group. So I was really learning a lot. So that's part of this kind of collaboration, strengthened relationship, being able and open to learn from others. The CEC also creates opportunities for capacity building. We normally organize training workshops in which knowledge is transferred among experts. That's key. That's key to strengthen relationship. That's key to be able to all be on the same page and to go to the same goal as we're doing today, maybe from different perspectives, from different approaches. But if we have a common goal, then it's easier to collaborate and to cooperate. Certainly, as you can imagine, at the CEC, working with 3 languages might create sometimes a barrier for our transfer knowledge. But what I have seen is that once we're out there in a breeding facility, in a plantation, trying to learn about kind of timber identification, if we are in a place where we're learning about the challenges of identifying a species of trade, then language doesn't become a barrier anymore. Once there's willingness to share knowledge, experts manage, even though they speak different languages. Just as a side note, I remember one of these training workshops, there were 2 people that needed to share information. It was crucial for them that they were in the same room, that it was the first time they met, and it was necessary for them to communicate, but they didn't speak the same language. So fortunately, we have, phones, we have different apps, we have different things. So they manage in, a lunch using all sorts of technology to communicate and to go to their own places of origin with the information they needed from that specific opportunity. This is kind of in a nutshell how we collaborate and cooperate in the CEC. This is how we have worked for 4 years on CITES Appendix 2 species. You might be asking, what's next? What's next for the CEC in terms of our work, our projects, and certainly about CITES species. Moving forward, just recently, last year, the CEC published its strategic plan 2021-2025. This strategic plan represents a renewed commitment to work together, our 3 countries, Canada, Mexico, and the United States, on current environmental and trade issues at the regional level. The strategic plan will guide CEC work for the next years, and we're happy to see that CITES is highlighted as one of the priorities for the following years. Working on the trade of species is important for the North American environment, and we will be happy working on those topics. In addition, one important thing to mention about the CEC is that we are interested in creating partnerships. We want to increase our outreach efforts and to do it with stakeholders, with our partners, with our collaborators. More and more with this pandemic, we have learned about the value and the power of collaboration to leverage efforts and to work together towards an environment that is healthier. Therefore, it's important for me to mention that we are looking forward to hear from you, to hear from people that are interested in our work and would like to collaborate with us. So please just, communicate with us. Just to finish, and I know I'm running out of time, I just want to mention that thanks are all Carl and Pedro for inviting me to this symposium. I'm super happy to speak to you every time we can. You are an amazing set, bunch of collaborators, and I really hope we're going to be able to collaborate in the future on some other aspects. Certainly an important for the CEC. If you want to hear about our work, even though you're on the other side of the ocean, even though you are further in more tropical countries right now, it's important that we keep informed each other. It's important that we hear from you. So please, follow us on the social media channel of your preference. We have a newsletter. I invite you to subscribe to the newsletter to hear more about where we're at, where our new projects will be. And certainly I'll be there, you can find my email, and I'll be happy to answer any of your questions today or by email. Thank you very much.